So we start today with production, and then we'll be going into cost. Till now, we have considered in consumer behavior how an individual consumes two commodities X and Y, and the consumption decision was dependent on his budget and the utility function. Okay, so it was assumed that how much the consumer demands, it will be supplied. So we only looked at the demand side till now. Production is the first step to look at the supply side of the economy. How is X and Y produced? Okay. So we take a very simplistic production function. We assume that production for any good is happening from two factors of production. The two factors of production are, L is called the variable factor. The variable factor we also call labor. All variable factors will be covered in this one factor of production. Okay, and all fixed factors will be considered in this K input of production. K is also called capital. Okay, so variable and fixed factor. Variable is also called labor, but labor is only a word. All the variable factors that go into the production is termed as L, and all the fixed factors are clubbed and termed as capital. Okay, so it's very simplistic model wherein we have only two factors of production. Okay, now as we had the utility function, the production function is very similar to that in terms of the concept. The utility function used to take various forms. It could have been of the form of a perfect substitute. It could have been of the form of a perfect complement. It could have been of the form of a Cobb-Douglas utility function. Similarly, my production function can also assume all of these. Okay, my production function can also take the form of a perfect substitute. It can take the form of a perfect complement. It can take the form of a Cobb-Douglas. It can take all the forms that the utility functions can take. So it's very similar in the concept. I can call it a mirror image, the demand side and the supply side mirror image. Okay, right? Then when we looked at the utility functions, when it came to consumer behavior, we used to look at the concept of marginal utility of X. That is, if I increase my X by 1 unit, how much will my utility overall increase by? Similarly, here we have the concept of marginal productivity of labor. What is this? If I increase my labor factor by 1, how much will my production increase by? It's given by del Q del L. And here MUX was basically del U del X. Similarly, I have the concept of MPK, marginal productivity of capital, which is nothing but del Q del K. Okay. Here we have another concept. That concept is average productivity. Average productivity of labor can be written as Q by L. On an average, every labor is producing how much quantity? Similarly, average productivity of capital is Q by K. Okay. Okay. Also, kindly understand that variable factor is the only changeable factor in a very small span of time. If the time span is a very small period, then I as a manufacturer or I as a producer can only change the variable factor, which is L. The fixed factor is only changeable if I have a substantial amount of time. And we will basically see this concept more closely when we look at the cost functions. When we find out something called the short run cost, I will assume that the only cost incurred in the short run will be from the variable factor, and the long run cost will include all the costs of the fixed and the variable factors. Okay. So if I say that in the very short span of time, my production function is only a function of labor, because capital is fixed. Okay. To give you an example of the variable and the fixed factor, I give you an example of my coaching institute. My institutes, the place itself is a fixed factor. The variable factor will be the number of chairs that I fit in a classroom. It can be 10, it can be 15, that can be changed on a daily level. Okay. So variable factor is a factor which can be changed in a very short span of time, maximum 1 week. And fixed factor is a factor which cannot be changed overnight. It takes time to change. Okay. Normally, short run is a time period which is equal to 1 month, and the long run is a time period which is minimum 1 year. Okay. So that is the differentiating factor. Now let's take a look at how the production function will look in terms of the variable factor. If I put it on a diagram, let's see how the diagram will look. I'll show the production function, and corresponding to it, I'll also show the productivity, average and the marginal productivity. This is my production function in terms of only the variable factor. Okay. Okay. This is my production function. And here I map the average productivity of labor and the marginal productivity of labor. You can see that in the production function, the slope is firstly increasing, achieves a maximum, and then it is falling. So this point of inflection where the curve becomes from convex to concave, this is the maximum slope that is achievable, and hence my marginal productivity of labor will be maximum at this particular point. This curve is my MPL and this curve is my average productivity of labor. You can also see that average productivity of labor will always be a ray through the origin, and the marginal productivity of labor will be basically the tangency point at any point. So this tangency will give us the MPL, and the ray through the origin will give me the APL, or the average productivity of labor. You can see that the average productivity of labor is maximum when APL is equal to MPL. This point. Okay. And this point is where beyond this level, say L bar, every labor added will actually reduce production. So my marginal productivity of labor becomes a negative number beyond this L bar. Okay. So I should definitely not produce and employ more than L bar labor. If I employ more than L bar, I'm actually reducing my production. So I'm employing another person and my production is falling. Okay. So this is basically the diagram and the information of the correlation between the production function and average productivity and the marginal productivity of labor. Okay. We have another concept which I want to share with all of you. It is called returns to scale. Every production function exhibits something called returns to scale. Now, what is actually returns to scale? If I double my labor and I double my capital, and I see that my output also doubles, this is called constant returns to scale, because I doubled my labor and I doubled my capital and the quantity exactly doubled. If I double my labor and I double my capital and I notice that the quantity has more than doubled, then that means that I have increasing returns to scale. And similarly, if I see that I double my labor and I double my capital and the output has less than doubled, then that is called decreasing returns to scale. Okay. So any homogeneous function of degree 1, any homogeneous function of degree 1 will have constant returns to scale. If homogeneous has a higher degree than 1, then it will be increasing. Lower than 1, then it will be decreasing. Okay. So if I know that QLK is homogeneous, if I know that QLK is homogeneous of degree n, n equal to 1 will mean CRS, n greater than 1 will mean IRS, and n less than 1 will mean DRS, decreasing returns to scale. Okay.